The Gators are now in the rearview mirror. Now the Canes set their sights on Mac and the revitalized Heels. It's, of course, Miami Hurricanes live each and every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern time right here at MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. And we only do it right. We only do it the exact way that this show was intended to be delivered with Cam Underwood from State of the U. Cam, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. Just hanging out here in newly or returned to sunny South Florida. So, for those who delight in when I look out the window and things, can't do that because I still have the hurricane shutters up. But I'm here and I'm good. So let's talk some football.
Yeah, so briefly, for some of us who are not used to that type of weather, we have to deal with our own inclement type weather. You go to different areas of the country. There's good and bad just about everywhere, depending on your preference. And we've seen hurricanes in Connecticut because of the we're close to the water, but it's about 1% of what you feel down there in South Florida. So what is it like to feel that thing coming full throttle on top of you?
Well, it's substantial. I moved down here in 2000, so I do not have an experience from Hurricane Andrew, but Hurricane Wilma the eye of the storm went directly over my house here. That was, it tore the carport off the side. It was, if it's a big storm, it can be substantial for sure. So, if you just go look up what the wind speeds are for the different categories of hurricanes, man, it can be substantial. But the thing about it is, you see it coming for days, so like you have time to get your provisions and everything. I still have hurricane food that I'm eating through and stuff, hurricane snacks and everything, tons of water, just because, you need to be prepared for those situations. But yeah, it can be an interesting and experience when you definitely have a storm coming through.
All right. So again, we're talking Miami football here each and every Wednesday night with Cam Underwood from State of the U. And of course, we've got a date against North Carolina coming up this Saturday, which may be a more difficult test than anticipated, as North Carolina upended South Carolina as a 13-point underdog against the Gamecocks. And Mac Brown, I believe, is showing once again that he brings credibility to the program. Are they going to be instant contenders or anything like that? Probably not, but substantially better than what we've seen over the last 2 years in winning 5 games. Before we dive into the football on the field currently, look back at Florida, some of the things that you've thought about over the last 2 weeks, and prep the Heels. Clavon Bostic, Cam, would just like a recruiting update.
Yeah, recruiting is a thing that is 24/7, 365. So there's always work being done on the recruiting trail. The one piece of information, couple of pieces, I don't remember when it was last week, but 5-star tight end Darnell Washington from Las Vegas, Nevada, Desert Pines High School. So not Bishop Gorman, which is where Brevin Jordan, Tate Martell, and Bubba Bolden all went to high school. Anyway, Darnell Washington included Miami in his top 5. It was a top 3 that he released on Instagram, but he said that was wrong, and it was actually top 5. But either way, Miami's in that group, so working to get him down for an official visit. Another tight end, Theo Johnson from Ontario, Canada, which is right across the Detroit River from Detroit, Michigan, my hometown. He's coming down in a few weeks. It's like October 6th, I want to say. For his official visit to Miami. So, working on a couple of tight ends, a couple of guys, Donald Chaney Jr. said that he's 100% in with Miami. And I say Donald because David Furones or David Wilson, I forget which one it was, but Furones writes for the Sun Sentinel, Wilson writes for the Miami Herald. One of those guys was at early game of Belen Jesuit where Chaney goes. And he said that in speaking to Chaney himself, Chaney said that his preference is Donald Chaney, not Don Chaney. So I will go by what was reported as his wishes and call him Donald. But he's an amazing player. Unfortunately, Belen is not that good at football. So, he's a bright star on a dull team, as it were. But he's an amazing 5-star talent. So he's going to be coming down. And, the board is always, being worked on, being contacted, being changed. So, we'll see what happens when, when visits start being scheduled and, if there's attrition or if there's any more commitments. We'll see how kind of things go. But right now, yeah, I mean, the coaches are working every day on recruiting because that's what you have to do. There were those couple of notes on those couple of tight ends, and we'll have more as, things start to progress through the season.
For some reason, there is no advancement in the live chat stream. So you're watching on YouTube. We see that we're getting hundreds of comments coming in on YouTube. But in regards to my ability to display them, for some reason, this is as far as I can go in the stream right now. Maybe it'll kick back in. But the comment by Jamar Williams in predicting that DJ Dallas will get into the end zone first on Saturday night. That's as far as I can go. And that was posted at 8:01, and we're at 10 after. So for some reason, I apologize, but I will get to the comments and the questions. So please continue to leave those, and I will move them on to Cam. So now that Florida's long gone and still a disappointing loss, they could have been won. Obviously, the game was down to the wire, and the two teams basically indistinguishable based on my evaluation in terms of quality. Is there anything that kind of sits with you almost 2 weeks later in your thoughts back about that game and what you're proud of or what you're disgusted at or anything in between?
No, I mean, honestly, we've kind of talked about it all in its entirety, obviously the tackling needs to be better. And I think overall the tackling was okay, but, you give up an explosive touchdown and then you blow a coverage, which is its own thing. It's not a tackling issue, but, things like that. So, I mean, those things need to get better. Offensive line needs to get better. Jaron Williams needs to get rid of the ball a little bit, and that'll make the offensive line's job maybe look a little bit better because there won't be 10 sacks on the ledger. But, I still think that Miami is a very talented team. I think that Jeff Thomas is a very talented player, although he did have a couple of plays that, I'm sure that he wishes that he had back and has the ability to make, because we've seen him make plays of that caliber in his career, but he didn't make them on the 24th. I just want him, just really move forward. You cannot let a game beat you twice, and that's the thing that happened with Florida State during that 7-year losing streak. We would lose to them and then lose, another game or 2 or 4 after that was basically just because of a mentality thing, not necessarily a talent thing. It was effort and production wasn't to where it needs to be. But I don't want to dwell on that game. That was a game that we could have won a couple plays here and there. You could even go so far as to say one play either way. You make a tackle on that Tony touchdown, boom. Amari Carter plays center field on that 65-yard seam shot up to Hammond, boom. Jeff Thomas catches that ball in the end zone. And, I wear my Hurricane stuff around South Florida. Like, I mean, I live here. I'm from here. Well, not from here. I went to the school, but you get what I mean. So everywhere that I've gone, people want to say, hey, like, oh, you want to talk about the game or whatnot. Like, sometimes people do realize, oh, hey, I think I've seen you on YouTube, or like, I think I read your website or whatever. But if I wear Miami stuff, invariably people want to talk about the game, and you want to talk about the refs, and you want to talk about whatever. All those things are true. Yet and still, if Jeff Thomas catches that ball in the corner of the end zone, Miami wins that game. I'm pretty sure. You go up 27-17 with 5 minutes left. Bro, like, that game is pretty much over. Manny Diaz talked about it on the radio today. You go up 10 right there. Now you're making Felipe Franks be a drop back passer, and our defensive line gets to tee off and go, up the field in pure pass rush, not worrying about the run game or something. It changes the complexion of everything. And that cannot be escaped, but that's also in the past. And again, unfortunately, I called the loss to Florida. I called it with the exact score. So it is not something that I didn't see coming. Yet and still, I still believe this team should be a 10-win regular season team. But to do that, you have to go and win those games. South Carolina might miss a bowl game because their over-under for the year was 5.5. And to get to 6, that means you had to beat North Carolina as a 2-touchdown favorite, and they didn't. So now that's going to have implications for them moving forward. Yes, we lost a game to Florida. Yes, it sucks. Yes, it pisses me off because I hate those guys. But the focus has to be on the task at hand now, not at one that got away or something like that. All we can do is play the team across from us, not be that team like South Carolina who plays down and below the level of North Carolina and lets them get a win that they shouldn't have, So like, yeah, I mean, Could we go back through every single play with a fine-tooth comb? Yeah, we've done that already. It's time to move forward because there's more games.
And just to give my perspective on what would have been a 10-point lead with 5 minutes left to play, and then we'll move on, is that it was that kind of game where 10 points is enormous at that stage of the game, the way both defenses were playing versus those offenses. We in college football now see the 48-45 kind of games where 5 minutes left, 10-point game. Okay, we still have a ball game. It's maybe like a 60-40 advantage for the team that's up by 10 in those kind of games, but that's not the way this game was being played, and that's not the way the defenses were playing. I read the comment made by Jamar Williams, DJ Dallas, going to score the first touchdown on Saturday night. Just a few comments later, Leonard Shane comments that DJ is a man on a mission Saturday night. Is there something that I've missed? Is there a reason for DJ Dallas to be on a mission Saturday night? That's a few comments coming in already about DJ needing to have a big game.
I mean, you just want the focal point of your offense from a running perspective to have a good game. He did struggle a little bit last year, I believe. I think he had a fumble or two in that game, even though that was a 47-10 blowout. And then he was on the team in 2017. He was a freshman on that team that was only up 7-6 at halftime before Malik Rozier hit Jeff Thomas on that double move on the first play of the second half for that long 78-yard touchdown. But yeah, DJ Dallas is an emotional player, and you see some of the stuff that he does on social media. And there was somebody on a message board who said basically Miami's a team of thugs, but they're thugs with excuse me, I'm sorry, I thought I had that on mute. Sorry, I don't want that to come. Mom, leave me alone.
We didn't hear it.
Oh, awesome.
That mic's doing its job, Cam. Don't worry about it.
All right. Well, you won't hear it. You definitely won't hear anything else. So, yeah, there was a message board, North Carolina fans calling Miami a team of thugs, but a team of thugs that is soft in that anything goes wrong and they're going to quit. And DJ Dallas took a screenshot of that was posted on Twitter. DJ Dallas took that screenshot and made it his header of his Twitter profile. He didn't say anything about it. He didn't retweet it. He just put the picture up there to let y'all know that he saw that. So, I mean, yeah, it's going to be a tough environment. They're doing that 0 dark 30. I don't know if they're doing black uniforms again, but they did that against Miami in 2013-ish, I want to say, for that Thursday night game, 0 dark 30. But that kind of thing, it's a night game, night kickoff at up in Chapel Hill. So he's a lightning rod and an emotional leader for the team. And obviously, as you saw against Florida, DJ Dallas is not just he's not a lot of talk only with no substance. Like, he's a player who can go out and make plays and hasn't done that over the course of his career here. So yeah, for Miami to get off to a good start and have the result that I think the Miami fans want to see, DJ Dallas is going to need to come out and be a dynamic player, but he is that. So I expect that.
Appreciate the comments that are still vying for me to run for a VP selection in 2020 from Kyle Pickett. He never fails me there for some reason. The vice presidential candidate for me, and AB, the voice of college football. If you leave your comments and your questions in the live chat, I will get to them. Again, I keep clicking in and out of the comments to try to get that to loosen up and start to scroll again, and it's not. I have gone to the last comment that it's showing us right now, and it's at 8:01, so I've exhausted all those, and for some reason it's not giving us anything. So again, we will still pass on your comments and questions to Cam. Yes, 904 Hurricane reminding everyone to hit the like button. North Carolina obviously showed us something against South Carolina. As you mentioned, South Carolina, despite being a decent team, will probably have a brutal record because of the schedule. North Carolina seemingly has found a quarterback and is obviously going to be much energized after what it was able to do. When you talk about this a lot, Cam, there is a point in which a coach sells his culture, sells his approach, sells it all, but at some point there has to be proof of concept. And right out of the gate, Mac Brown gets some proof of concept against a decent team, a game that North Carolina hasn't won for the past 3 seasons. So you would think that they've got to be energized by that.
I mean, yeah. I mean, a win is energizing, especially against a local rival. North Carolina, South Carolina, like they share a border. You know what I mean? Like, that's a literal, border wars are a thing when you go to college basketball and look at other kind of things like that. So, yeah, I mean, beating them is is huge, and it kicks off your season in a good way. And yeah, so I mean, that is a little bit of the proof of concept on both offense and defense for them. And I mean, overall, your offense, defense, and special teams, all three areas contribute to wins or losses. And North Carolina was able to come out with one. And they were led by Sam Howell, who's from North Carolina. He was committed to Florida State for a while last recruiting cycle. He's a guy who Miami kicked the tires on later in the cycle when it looked like he was not going to go to Florida State. And even though, with most quarterback recruits, or not most, but with a lot of quarterback recruits, their dads are the point person for their recruitment and all of the media contacts. So they say, I'm going to insulate you. People will talk to me. And Mr. Howell did a great job of that, saying, we're all in with Florida State and but we're always evaluating options and things like that. But it was a poorly held secret that he was not going to go to Florida State. So Miami did contact Sam Howell. He was going to line up an official visit, and that was spoken of. And then he ended up staying home and going to North Carolina, enrolling there and everything, and winning the job as a true freshman. And, good on him. This is a kid who's, 6'2", 214, multiple-time state champion in high school, multiple thousand yards of offense. I think it was 8,000 or 9,000 yards, maybe even more of total offense in high school. He's a big, solidly built kid, decent arm, good running ability. And he was able to beat out a bunch of incumbents. One of them, Chaz Surratt, he was so far behind that he said, look, let me go play defense. And so he was their starting middle linebacker, who was the lefty starting quarterback last year, plays middle linebacker now. So, I mean, yeah, it is a good way to start when you get a quarterback that you can build around. And even with him going 13 for 31, say, look, I hit the throws I needed to hit. I made the plays I needed to make, and we still won. So, Sam, as you get better, as your accuracy improves and your abilities increase, this is only going to go forward. So, yeah, that is a huge, huge, huge feather in their hat. Everyone wants to talk about, this is an SEC team and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that's going to be a four-win SEC team. People just coming to me on Twitter in the mentions of, both my accounts at The State of the U and at Underwood Sports, in case you're not following me, talking about that. SEC this, SEC that. Dude, look at South Carolina. They're a decent little squad, but they're nobody's world beaters. But, yeah, being able to have something to hang your hat on now, not waiting until October, until you beat whoever, or November, and, the end of the year, you go through the, NC State, who's probably going to be an 8-9 win team. Maybe you beat them right out the gate. Name brand team, name brand conference. You get a win with your freshman quarterback, with your former quarterback playing middle linebacker. He played a damn good game, by the way. You did everything that you needed to do. Yes, that is your proof of concept right there. Is it perfect? No. Could that be a building block for Mac Brown? Absolutely.
213 on the line. This is what we do each and every Wednesday night. Miami Hurricanes Talk with Cam Underwood from State of the U. Please join him on SB Nation. Again, State of the U for the best in Miami football coverage. Want to remind you that you can get my predictions 16-11 against the spread. That's not going to set the world on fire, but 16-11 against the spread is 59%. That will win money. So that was our week one showing at the Voice of College Football Community. If you go down in the description section below and grab the link next to the hashtag, or where it says Voice of College Football Community, the hashtag says Sam Strong. That's where you can go to betnow.eu. Use the promo code MRTVCFB. MRTVCFB. And if you see the banner we have right there, the bonus has gone from 50% to 100%, they tell me, 100%. So if you throw in a buck, you get two. If you throw in 100, you get 200, and you're in front of the sticks to try to win even more money than that. Let's go to the live chat here, Cam. JT Sounds asking, hey, Cam, what do you expect from DJ Ivey and how much of a difference he makes as our second best corner?
I expect him to be in the number 3 corner, first of all, behind Al Blades, who started the opener, and Trajan Bandy, who's clearly the best cornerback. So that's a little bit of housekeeping there. I think that's going to be I think it's going to be good for Miami because North Carolina likes to run a lot of plays. Phil Longo, their offensive coordinator, is a tempo kind of guy. So you're going to need guys to come in and take some of those snaps. And It was different against Florida because, there were only 56 defensive snaps, 66 offensive snaps. The game was played at a very slow pace intentionally by both sides because, they wanted to kind of shrink the game and lessen the variance for trouble for their quarterbacks, even though both quarterbacks had some moments of brilliance and also of trouble for Florida. But against North Carolina, we're going to need guys to play defense, multiple guys just to rotate through. The rotations are going to expand. And I know that that's a thing that everybody wanted to talk about after the Florida game, myself included, of, hey, I thought that other guys could have gotten in and had an impact. You're going to see that. So DJ Ivey is going to play some major snaps in this game. North Carolina obviously wants to spread the ball or spread the field, so they're going to have 3 and 4 wide. So you're going to need more defensive backs, guys who can cover, whether it's man, whether it's zone. DJ Ivey is one of those guys, so he's definitely going to be a much needed addition to that, and then also puts Corey Couch further down the rotation a little bit. That puts Christian Williams further down the rotation a little bit at cornerback. And those two guys are true freshmen, so you don't want them playing, 60 or 70 snaps, even as in a sub package, because North Carolina is going to run a ton of plays. So yeah, DJ Ivey going into the game is going to be a major deal. He's going to definitely be a player who's going to impact the game. He's going to just allow Miami to have another starting caliber player in the rotation already. Corey Couch, I think, is going to be very good. I think he's physical for his size, except for he's only 160 pounds. He's 5'8". And DJ Ivey is just a bigger physical kind of a guy. And that's going to come into play in both the pass game and the run game. So getting DJ Ivey back off his suspension is undisclosed, whatever it was, undisclosed for the opener, is a big deal for this defense. And, God forbid anybody gets injured, instead of going down and playing a true freshman as your number 2 cornerback, now you're playing a sophomore who was battling for a starting job all fall. So just that little bump of depth, I think, is going to be a big key moving forward.
Kim, if I grab the roster and I was able to pinpoint the most insignificant player on the roster and I threw out his name, how much would you be able to talk about that particular player?
At least I can give you probably 90 seconds, maybe more. And again, this is right in the wheelhouse. If I'm covering recruiting and knowing these guys from when they're sophomores or sophomores and juniors in high school in through college, that's 6 or 7 years. You know what I mean? I write, thousands worth of words in recruiting profiles for every single player. I'm writing updates every month. I'm, reading everything. I'm talking to people. I'm getting the whole picture. I need to get out a little bit more, but going to these, South Florida football games and things like that. These are guys that I have seen. I know people that I used to work with whose kids are on these football teams. You know what I mean? When I say, oh, Miami's recruiting Brian Balaam now, I'm like, cool. His brother had my class 7 years ago at Miramar. Brian was in my study hall 2 years ago. Personally, I had personal talks with this man about his aspirations to go to college as an IB student, a high achieving student. I had open houses where I've spoken to both he, his brother, and his parents. What do you want? It's just it's what I do.
When you made the DJ Dallas comment and explained why people were commenting on him needing to step up and show and that he was going to be fired up. Again, what crossed my mind is there anything that gets past this guy? Meaning you.
Not too much. And honestly, I have the quickest reflexes on the timeline. If I see something, I move really quickly. And yeah, I go through and I see what people are talking about and things like that. So, I try to make it my job that not much, if anything, gets by me. So I'm glad that, it comes through when I speak, and I'm glad that you guys, appreciate it and realize it, because, it is a time-consuming process, but it's something I love to do.
Absolutely, folks. So realize what you got here is we bring the best discussion, debate, and analysis, regardless of the team, as best we can, considering I'm one guy, but I bring on great talent and Cam front and center. So again, just the knowledge, the insight, the storytelling, the voice. You can't you can't bypass the voice. So where are we? Mike Williams. And again, I apologize. The comments cannot advance for me to get them on the screen. Mike Williams is asking about the timetable, and I will qualify this before I ask Cam. Okay. Consider this is not the NFL in terms of getting injury news and reports and understanding and having full disclosure or partial disclosure as you do in the NFL with player injuries. So we'll get what we can out of Cam, but he's asking about Nesta Silvera.
Nesta Silvera was a 6 to 8 week injury from the time or from surgery. So I mean, we're in week 3, so I mean, at minimum, you're talking, including this week, another 4 weeks. At a maximum, I think that's another 6 weeks plus. So, I mean, that's kind of where it is. You see him scooting around at practice or during interviews. He has this little, his scooter thing that you have when you have a foot injury or like an Achilles injury or something. So you see him moving around. I mean, I trust that he's doing his physical therapy. I did mine when I had injuries and when I was, actually a competing athlete. And I'm sure that he is doing his, because obviously he cannot be a fully participating member of the team in practice or anything like that. But yeah, I think that we're still a good ways away from seeing Nesta on the field this year.
Opalaka 74. I wish I could display your comment. Mark, it was really nice to chill with you and your son. It was a nice trip down to Orlando.
Oh, yeah.
Had a lot of people that watch us here, and it was fun. And hung out with Hurricane Zoe and the clan with about 40 or 50 Canes fans. There were a few Florida infiltrators that were welcome just because of family connections and so forth. But It was quite the time watching the ball game. And we did a lot of tailgating, got around to cut some video and get tailgating from both sides Saturday afternoon. Yeah, it was a good time. Nice. Mr. HD, Cam, when is Will Mallory going to have a breakout game? Now that's getting into the crystal ball right there.
I mean, when he starts catching the ball, I mean, that's going to be a necessary requirement for that kind of a thing. Got targeted twice against Florida. Drop ball. Well, one of them wasn't actually to him. It ended up being at him just because I think that was the play that Jeff Thomas got bumped off of his kind of underneath quick route thing. And Jaron threw it late. But yeah, I mean, it starts with catching the ball. And everybody will say, and I'm sure that Will Mallory would also say, that his performance in the opener was not to the level of his expectation. So I think that it'll be, I mean, it could be this week. It could be next week. It could be the week after that. But I do think that there is going to be a really big breakout game for Will Mallory this year. Excuse me. But his performance definitely does need to bounce back from the opener, because that wasn't to the level of anybody's expectation, let alone his.
Cheryl, we thank you for your support, Ohio State fan Cheryl, but she joins us in each and every live stream, and she's making that comment to a number of people in the live stream. JT Sounds comes back, and of course, breakout just seems to be one of those sports cliche terms that is used, so we can define it any way we want. So I'll serve another one up for Cam. We're asking about player breakouts apparently tonight. Mark Pope, when is he going to break out?
When he gets on the field. I mean, he had 1 catch for 4 against Florida. It was on a slant. The DB drove on that ball really quickly. No chance for a run after a catch. The ball was put right in the frame of his body where it needs to be put on a slant. So, it's not too far in front for a linebacker flowing underneath. It's not behind him to get tipped by or tipped and then caught by the defender. But I think he limped off after that play. And then, he's a player who ceded some snaps to Tate Martell because of, Tate Martell in the Wildcat package. And again, playing wide receiver in base formation, not Wildcat, like actually just base offense, and things like that. So, I mean, obviously I think that he's going to need to be on the field to be able to make plays, hopefully with the snap count that goes up a little bit and the rotation that expands a little bit, we'll be able to see those kind of things. But Mark Pope has the kind of explosive athleticism and speed that you need to scheme to get him the ball. I mean, in the spring and in the fall, you're seeing him on those quick jet touch passes or jet sweeps, depending on if it's from shotgun or under center, things like that. Maybe in the return game, but you got Jeff Thomas, and I know that he fumbled that or that punt. I know. But are you really going to take Jeff Thomas off a punt return? I don't think so. So. It's going to take Mark Pope really stepping up, and it's going to take Mark Pope taking somebody's spot. And this is what Miami is all about. It's what it's always been about. That guy has all the talent in the world, and if he doesn't find a way to put it together, then that's on him and not on anybody else. So, I think that everybody wants to see him on the field. And, everybody has their favorites and their least favorites. So you might say, oh, I want Mark Pope on the field instead of insert player here. Fine. If he doesn't go and earn it and take that snap, guess what? He's not going to be there. So it's a little bit on him stepping up to take that spot and also be given the opportunity to have something drawn up for him. Because, again, I've talked about it many times. In high school, when they drew things up for them, Southridge won a state championship on the back of Mark Pope because he's that kind of guy. But if he doesn't have that about him, he needs that singular focus, you know what I mean? Just to really step to the forefront. And I don't necessarily think that we've seen it. And I hope that somehow, some way that gets unlocked in him this year, just because I think that he could be such a great addition to this offense and he has such great skill and speed and talent. But he needs to step up and nobody's babying him anymore. So, we'll see what happens, but hopefully sooner than later.
Got 2:43 on the line. This is what we do each and every week with Miami Football Talk at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. And we do it with and without Cam, but let's make it straight. This is at its best, definitely with Cam right here talking Miami football from State of the U. So what you get here with Cam for about 55 minutes, you can get full coverage with him. And again, he's not just saying this. I've sampled it myself, a writing staff that's exceptional over at State of the U covering Miami football. I try to get to as many sites as possible. You know what I do here? I cover everybody, so I check out what they do at State of the U, and I jump on there, and it's been really good with their writing staff. And this is what we do in covering college football. So Miami fans, if you love the ACC and you love the nation, at least want to keep up to date, you lock it in here, MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. We preview all the big games, and you got to check out my top 25 that actually makes sense. And check it out. I got a lot of criticism for it, and then I came back with a reaction piece in which you will see me almost break down in tears. That's all I'm going to say. That's a tease. Check it out. All right, Cam, we've got JT Sounds, who is asking, Cam, if things don't go well Saturday night, are we going to see more of a rotation out of the offensive line?
It depends on how the offensive line does. If the offensive line is not the cause for the problems, then why would you rotate? If they are the cause for the problem, then I think that we could see a rotation even during Saturday's game. But that's dependent on the actual formation of the game. You know what I mean? If it's like the 88 Fiesta Bowl where the quarterback throws 7 interceptions or something like that. It's like Steven or Nathan Peterman when he played for Buffalo. If he's just throwing the ball to the other team, but the pocket is clean and he didn't get hit and there's space in the running game and things like that, is that really indicative of the offensive line not doing their job? You know what I mean? So it's a little bit of speculation, obviously, to see what would happen, but it needs to be really talked about the way in which the game actually unfolded before you really kind of look at that thing. But I'm good, and pivoting off of that question, I'm good with sticking with the entire depth chart being for this game what it was for the opener. Nobody really did anything to play themselves out of a starting job. Not this early, not against a North Carolina, not considering that Miami's not going to play a team with the talent that Florida has on the roster for the rest of the season in the regular season. So, yeah, I'm good with the offensive line sticking the way that it was. I'm good with all the rotations and all the starting spots being what they were. But to answer your question directly, it really depends on how the offensive line performs in this game to really evaluate and talk about potentially switching things up, moving either on Saturday or moving into the future.
A lot of acknowledgments to get through suddenly. Thank you so much for the contributions coming in. Vernon speaks sports. He comes on here from time to time to talk Auburn. Does a great job setting us up with Auburn football. Of course, they had a big win this past weekend against Oregon. Nice Guy TV, former DeAndre Clemson fan, but loves the ACC, will watch any college football, talks it up all the time. And he's asking, is Miami and North Carolina going to cover the over in the game? I don't know what the over is. I don't know that Cam's a big betting guy either. I know it's 5.5 on the point spread.
Well, it opened at 5.5. It got bet up to 6. And then hold on, I'm on this website right now. But, okay, so the line is down to 4 across the board, and the over-under started at 51. Now it's down to 47.5 across the board.
Yeah, I wish I would have jumped in on that.
Yeah, so people, I mean, if you can't tell what was going on, at first people bet Miami to win, so the line went up from 5.5 to 6, and then it's come down to 4, so a 2-point swing in the last couple of days. So the money is really going hard on North Carolina, and I think from the beginning, the money has been hard on the under of that. If you caught it at 51, I would say you feel comfortable on the under. At 47.5. I mean, 27-20 is under. 28-20 is not under. 27-21 is not under. I would say, yeah, I would have felt more comfortable if you caught it at opening at 51 for the over-under. At 47.5, I'm not comfortable at all, just because I don't think that North Carolina's defense is that good. And I think that there's going to be the opportunity for Miami to capitalize on some of the plays that they left on the field in Orlando against Florida. And yeah, I'm going to say that they're going to hit or that they're going to go over that number. If it were, my evaluation, my expert opinion is that the game's going to go over 47.5.
And for those of you that don't understand the betting game, there's probably I'm just throwing out a number, but I'm guessing it's within a couple percentage points. There's a probably 5% chance that it matters whether the game's 4.5 or 5.5. Let's say you take Miami and they win by 14. Obviously, that point differential did not matter. Or North Carolina upsets Miami, or they only lose by 3 instead of. But Vegas is playing the percentages over long periods of time using scads of information over scads of games. So that half a point, 1 point, it matters enough to tip the scales that 3% of the time, 5% of the time that it matters to them. It may not matter to you, but then it comes into play many times, obviously. Rod Kemp, Jay Love with contributions as well. Jay Love commenting here. Let's see if this is a question of sorts. All eyes on Dan Enos on Saturday, especially when it's time to make adjustments. Do you agree, Cam? And can we please get Jeff Thomas the ball early?
Do I agree that, adjustments need to be made? Yeah. Again, even with the points that were scored against Florida, there were plays that were left on the field on that first drive, that first sack.
I'm just happy because I can get comments back up here.
Oh, nice.
Here we go.
But that sack on the first drive, Jeff Thomas was wide open. He turned his defender around like a spinning top. It was crazy. And then, he ran it was like it was like fake into a corner to a post, and his defender just went, let me see where it just went, whoop, he was just stuck there spinning. And he was wide open, but he wasn't able to get the ball there because the pressure. So I think that Miami will be able to hit on a couple of those things, and then depending on what happens in the game, you're going to have to come up with something new. That's what happened in the Florida game. You came out with this opening script. You're going to go quick. You're going to do these things. Then the field position handicaps you a lot. A lot. And things like that. So now you got to go off script from that because you're not going to do that kind of quick game thing on the 5-yard line, things like that. So, obviously you want to see development. You want to see things going forward, and you want to see, hopefully there are other things in the playbook than we saw in the opener. And I don't know when, but there's going to come a time when Tate Martell is going to throw a pass off of a reverse, a double pass, whatever, something like that. But, you've seen that in so many games already where you just bring a guy around and, you pitch it to the running back and you pitch it back to the wide receiver who's coming this way, and all of a sudden he's throwing it. That's going to happen. I know that's in the playbook for sure. If you're talking about a Tate Martell package, you have to have something like that. Is that a thing that you're going to unveil now? Is it a thing you're going to keep till November 2nd against Florida State? All those kind of things, yeah. But you definitely do want to see all of, or maybe a little bit more diversity and finding a way to get in the end zone because points win games.
Love to keep Kyle Pickett's comment up here for quite some time. Mark's top 25 is perfect. So what I do, Cam, is I unveil a top 25 each and every week. And you can imagine after 1 week, based on my approach, you have a very odd top 25 because I only base it on the game that was played. I give no preconceived notion to how good the teams are. You obviously have to give some assumption, like Auburn beat Oregon. You're going to make an assumption that Oregon's pretty good because everybody thinks they're good. Now, if they go 2-10, then as my rankings proceed through the season, obviously Auburn's win over Oregon loses a ton of value. Obviously, that there has to be some assumptions made because you have to rate the wins and the losses. Otherwise, you would have like 50 teams tied for number one in the country because they all have a win. So I've just got some odd rankings, but it all flushes itself out. And I try to explain this, and I just take a beating, Cam, because I've got like Wyoming number 17 in the country. They beat Missouri. They looked impressive. But it's one game. And do I think they're the 17th best team in the country? I don't. But that'll play itself out. When they lose a game, and then 2, and then 3, it'll play itself out, and it'll flush it out, and they'll not be. But for right now,
and that's the thing, it's you have to look at the focus. You know what I mean? Is it predictive? Is it reactive to what we've seen or things like that? You can say, hey, no, this is based upon games played only, nothing else. I don't have a problem with that because again, it'll flesh itself out if and when those teams lose.
So as James Scott says right there, please give us the likes. That does wonders for the channel and for the video as well, with 273 on the line. So thanks so much for showing up. And please, as we encourage you each and every week, let people out there know in social media that we are around. All right. I'm losing track of some things that I came across that I wanted to. Oh, tons of people in here. And I don't know that you can, again, let's understand Cam's limitations in the media in general when it comes to some of these issues in college football and college athletics.
I know what they're going to ask.
Do we have any kind of update? Do we know anything about when he's going to get cleared?
About Bubba Bolden, the answer is no. Manny Navarro asked Manny Diaz today at media availability if there was any update. And actually, I'm going to go to Manny Navarro's Twitter account right now, and I'm going to read this to you verbatim. When it loads up, hold on, gotta scroll. Hold on. Asked Manny Diaz about safety Bubba Bolden today. Quote, still waiting to hear, he said, of Bolden's clearance to play. That's from Manny Navarro of The Athletic, formerly of the Miami Herald for like 20 years, today at 1:11 p.m. That is the update. Still waiting. So I don't know why he hasn't been cleared, because he's fulfilled all the requirements that there were in terms of going from a Power 4 or from a FBS school to a JUCO back to another FBS school. But, again, we wait because it's what it is.
I've got to think that N'Kosi Perry is the backup. Is that correct? Is he number 2 on the depth chart?
I mean, yeah, man. Like Tate Martell, he's doing a little bit of everything and really focusing his time at receiver. And the question was, if Jaron were to get hurt, who would come in off the bench? Perry or Martell? It'd be N'Kosi Perry would be the number 2 quarterback, unless something went super crazy. But yeah, I think N'Kosi Perry would be the guy. Captain Tripp says that Tate Martell is going to start for Miami by the end of the year. Hey, maybe Miami decides to open with 5 wide receivers and he's wide receiver number 4 of that group. He can start absolutely in that scenario.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, talking it up with you and everyone else. We get the best live chat in college football. We also believe we've got the best discussion, debate, and analysis, and we try to improve it all the time. But one of our main stalwarts, of course, Cam Underwood from State of the U. Please join him and the rest of the crew over there on State of the U on SB Nation. As we've got more comments about the offensive line. North Carolina, Roger Shaw, Miami should win by 14. That's pretty much the range of most of, I can understand, Miami fans, but I think other people as well, looking at Miami as I know that you didn't grade the defensive performance to be what it should have been against Florida, but I certainly, outside of a handful of plays, thought they played extremely well.
They did, but the thing about it is good is not good enough. And losing to Florida is never acceptable, just as Manny Diaz said. So, yeah, it's the first game, and I'm being a little bit hypercritical of that, just because of the result of that. And I want to, just like Manny Diaz said, he's trying to kill that disease of malaise or woe is me kind of a thing. I'm not accepting anything other than excellence from this defense. So yes, I'm grading on a very hard scale. Like, absolutely. Would that have been great for a bunch of teams to play the way that Miami did in its entirety? Yes. But for Miami, you leave enough out there. Your linebackers play pretty poorly for sure. Obviously, you change the paradigm of pass rushing to contain and push Felipe Franks to his left. Things like that. But yeah, is it good enough to get the job done? Yes, but good is not good enough. Just like the Reverend Dr. Robinson said when I was in high school at Cranbrook, good, better, best, better, never let it rest until your good is better and your better best. And that's what I expect from this defense and this team every single day.
Was that one of those enunciation drills?
No, it was a thing. It was in the classroom because we had to take history of religion, and then I took ethics my senior year, and it was just one of his mantras. He got a sign. It's a saying from somewhere. But yeah, you can never settle. Never, ever settle. And for Miami's defense, even those little things that's like, some people will say, oh, well, that's just one of those things. No, that is the thing. That's the detail that needs addressing. That is the point of conversation that I'm going to bring to the forefront, because you doing your job and making a play and making a tackle, that's the expectation. You know what I mean? It's not, oh, wow, oh, God, this guy made a tackle. No. I'm not surprised when you do your job. I'm surprised when you don't. And those are the things that I want to talk about, need to talk about. And that's why I was hard on my grading, and I fully and totally stand by that.
Mike Williams chimes in again. Many of you are. So if we don't get to your comment or your question, and it's impossible, and we've got 283 on the line, so please keep in mind this is the most we've had on the line, and we've been at it for almost 50 minutes. So what you need to do, as soon as the video posts, just go back and watch what you missed. What do you think the relationship is? I asked this question one time during the offseason, and now we've only seen one game, but the relationship and the working relationship and the responsibilities between Manny Diaz, head coach, but also hands on the defense, and Blake Baker. How do you think that works?
I think that Manny Diaz is letting Blake Baker run the defense. He brought him in to run the defense. He's a guy who he was a position coach underneath Manny Diaz at Louisiana Tech. When Manny left that job as defensive coordinator, Blake Baker got promoted, ran that exact same defense. So yeah, he knows the things. He knows the way that the defense goes. He knows that he has the same nomenclature, the same verbiage, and things of that nature. Will Manny Diaz step in on offense or defense when he sees fit as the head coach? Yes. But do I think that he's standing over Blake Baker's shoulder and trying to shadow run the defense again? No, because he has a bigger job than that. But as a guy who's coached defense his entire career and was the defensive coordinator here for 3 years, it would be asinine to believe that Manny Diaz did not have any kind of input or thought about the defense. But it's really Blake Baker's show. He's letting him do that. And then eventually, if and when he sees fit, then he'll step in.
So certainly, I know that you addressed the ACC Network at a point in which we talked about ACC kickoff way back when in July, but then also it came up concerning this particular game. It's an important game, period. It's a conference game, but North Carolina wins the first weekend, and a lot of people that are not a fan of either team, like myself, I suddenly have a little bit more interest in the game. But as AE or ALS52 is asking, do you know anything? I know that you addressed it at the time that your situation, you didn't have the ACC Network. I don't.
I still don't. Comcast and Uverse do not have the ACC Network. Pretty much every other provider does. I saw that Cox Cable just got it today. I saw, and all the streaming services, so Hulu, YouTube TV, Sling, all of those kind of things, they do have the ACC Network, and even a couple others that I'm probably forgetting, but those are like the major carriers, or PlayStation View has it as well. So that's really what it is, man. And for me, I'm either going to have to switch to YouTube TV, which I've heard many people give very strong positive reactions about, or maybe hit my local sports bar that has one of those other carriers or Dish Network or whomever that already has it. But yeah, there are a lot of linear cable systems that are having or have come to deals with it. But Comcast and Uverse are the major two in our area who do not. I think that there's another one up the Eastern Seaboard there. My SB Nation colleague / boss, Caroline Darney, who lives in Charlottesville, she says that she does not have it in that area either. So I think that her linear cable provider does not have it as well. But I'm sick and tired of everybody saying that it's the job of the fans and consumers to get the distribution done. I'm tired of it. It's for everybody. It's not my job. It's not your job. It's not the job of the schools to contact these cable providers and say, this is what you need to do. The ACC has a commissioner for a reason. He gets paid very handsomely to do his job. That is literally his job. I don't want to hear it. Don't come at me saying, oh, well, no, I miss me with that. Myself, Steve Feinberg, my good friend who I had, went out to lunch with the other day. He has Comcast and he's talking about the same thing, or he has Uverse as well. It's not our job to secure the distribution for a network that, you guys have known is coming for a long time. But what I will say, and I heard this and I looked it up, and I think this is absolutely true. If these big cable providers do not make deals with the ACC network anytime soon, then I don't think it's going to happen during football season. The ACC is going to put a Duke Carolina basketball game exclusively on the ACC network and leverage that to get distribution. That's exactly what ESPN did with ESPN2 back in the day. They said, look, this game is on ESPN2 and ESPN2 only. So this is a national game. Everybody wants to see this. If you want to see it, then you need to make a deal for ESPN2 wide distribution. And you think now, ESPN2, I remember when ESPN2 started. I remember when that first came out and it wasn't everywhere. They're absolutely going to do the exact same thing with the ACC network if deals are not done with these major linear cable providers soon.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. We passed 300 on the line, got it up to 303. We appreciate everybody that's out there that not only jumps on here each and every week, but gets others to do so as well. I think we can keep pushing it beyond those limits as we get deeper into the football season and the games become more and more important. Cam, I'll leave you with this because, of course, we cannot take any time away from Ohio State at 9:00 Eastern time.
Wow. So I come on 5 minutes late and then, wow. Okay. All right. Cool. See it. All right.
I didn't know that you would necessarily make that connection.
No, come on.
Those guys just wouldn't shut up. I couldn't get them off. Those guys just wouldn't shut up. I just couldn't get them off. Couldn't control my own show. Okay. And then as an added extra bonus, everyone, tonight, we are talking Michigan football live at 10:00 Eastern time.
Oh, let's get it. Go
yeah. Not necessarily going to be a weekly thing, but we're going to talk Michigan football. We get requests, LSU, Georgia, do this, do that.
Right.
Obviously, yeah, I'm not going to go into the woe is me.
No, you were able to make
what
it
I was about to do. I worked all night and then I slept 2 hours and then I worked all day and I'm doing this all night. This is what I love to do and this is why I'm here.
Notice how he said he wasn't going to do the woe is me and did it anyway.
And I did. Did anyone there in Miami notice that Virginia beat Pitt by 3 scores? 30-14, 2 scores.
Yeah, no, definitely did. Those are both Coastal Division teams. I saw that Keyshawn Camp, their defensive tackle from Pittsburgh, who's from Florida, is out for the year with the ACL. He joins Rashad Weaver, who's from Broward County, Cooper City High School, as being a defensive lineman for them, a starting defensive lineman who's out for the year with a major injury. So, Pittsburgh losing some quality depth there along the defensive line, excuse me. So, yeah, I did watch the replay of that game. I don't necessarily think that, if Miami does what Miami needs to do, Virginia doesn't scare me, but they definitely pounded an inferior team.
One more chance, folks, to hit the like button. And then if you want more Miami football coverage, you head over to State of the U. You can probably do both. We've got devices all over the place now. You can go to State of the U. You can keep it right here. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. If you love college football, for more football talk tonight with Ohio State and Michigan, those two just kind of go together, just like our previous 2 hours. Florida State, Miami. Cam, we appreciate you stopping by as always. Anything in particular at the site that people would want to check out before Saturday night?
I mean, everything on the site you should be checking out. We have great content all the time, looking at numerical previews. I got a question and answer going up with a writer from Tar Heel blog tomorrow. And then, so I asked him some questions. He asked me some questions that'll be up on his website. And then just be sure you follow us everywhere on all social. That's Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at The State of the U. My personal Twitter is at Underwood Sports. The website is stateoftheu.com, where we are Miami Hurricanes 24/7, 365. And we urge you, implore you, beg you to come on over and fan with us.
And everybody keep it right where it is. And for those of you that are leaving us tonight that just love the Miami talk, come back next Wednesday night and bring more people with you.
Please do.
Cam, thanks so much. Enjoy the game Saturday night.
No problem. We'll see you next week.